Hello my friends, I'm Dan King from Galaxy Semiconductor and I just got back from Semicon West 2024, which was in San Francisco, and it has been in San Francisco for decades, although next year it's going to be going to my hometown, Phoenix, Arizona in October. They're changing the time and they're changing where it's at. But let me show you the sights and sounds, a little montage to make it feel like you were there.
how to define, adopt, and adapt standards to enable more intelligent test flows and seamless operations.
I think standards to some degree are a fool's errand, because the data coming out of this process, this machine, etc., are all going to be different formats, different field names, and trying to herd these cats in the industry in the direction of a single standard. Everybody's standard is different. So I'm advocating that we don't try to force everybody to use the same words, but let's try to speak the same language so that we can communicate.
That it can be somewhat detrimental in the sense that we embraced the STDF standard, and now we really are having a hard time letting go of it. Yeah, 40 years later, and we all will admit, openly that it's done us a great service, but there's so much more that we could do if we would consider, adopting some alternatives that have, better technology, and more usability, more flexibility, across the whole spectrum. So
every one of us has a different importer for every customer. Where do you put that third fab ID, or where do you put the conditions? Where do you put the adaptive test information? Well, you put it in a text record, or you put it in a GDR. There's places to put it, but there's no way to know where it went. And so everybody's different. Everybody has their own data. Everybody has their own test engineers. What we need to do is have some commonality, so we don't spend 80% of our time getting the data in. We want to spend all of our time getting the data out.
I think that's a big challenge in defining a standard, is being able to see far enough out what flexibility you need, and really reassuring people that it has staying power.
But the reality is everybody knows how to do their job, their daily job, every day. There's nobody, you can't go in and say, I can make you more efficient, because he's already efficient, right? What we need to do is say, we can give you a future that's better.
Right? How do we prepare the data so something can actually ingest it and make sense of it? And sure, you can take these approaches with more unstructured learning and RAG and all these other things that are buzzwords, but wouldn't it be better if the data was just good enough that you didn't have to do that?
Yes. I couldn't agree more. If we all had clean data that was properly formatted and all of our field names were properly filled in, I don't really like standards that are so constrictive that we can't get anything done. And that's kind of where we are with STDF now, because we can't fit the metadata into the STDF. We start shoving things into DTR records, for example. Applying some intelligence that can learn those kind of things, I think it has a lot of potential, and I'm excited about it. And I'm not worried about engineers becoming obsolete for that reason.
If we unleash some of these incredible tools, machine learning, etc., there are so many parameters, so many degrees of freedom. Ultimately, just by sheer statistical coincidence, some relationship is going to be found between parameters that leads us to solve problems that never really were an issue in the first place.
The upper management says, well, go out and find something to do with AI. So if you give a drunk teenager a hammer and you tell him to go out and find something to do with it, you don't know what's going to happen. So we have a powerful tool at our disposal, but simply trying to find a problem to fit the solution may not be the best approach. Understanding data is like understanding yesterday's weather. And we do that all the time. Histograms, trend charts, box plots. We can understand what has already happened. Level 2 is when we can start to predict tomorrow's weather. When the machine is making decisions for you, you've gone up a logarithmic level in value. And then the fourth one, which is the hardest, or not really the hardest, it's the most valuable, is when you can make causal inference. So you can look backwards and say, all right, today this happened, I understand why it happened. And now I can go back and change something so that more of it will happen if it's something we want to happen, or less of it will happen if it's something we don't want to happen.
The terrifying thing isn't these incredible systems that are able to answer all the questions we ask. I think the terrifying thing is, as you just alluded, was when these systems begin to ask questions themselves of intelligence. That's when it, I think, becomes next level.
My vision is probably farther in the future than I'll care about, but I sort of see the lights out floor with a lot of smaller autonomous processes that collaborate to this sea of data, right? It's really a smart manufacturing view with a big IoT concept. is it should know what we want out of it. You know, we're hooking into MES systems and stuff now because we need to know what we need to ship. And the things should decide on their own how to ship that stuff. You know, you know, we're all worried about people not being involved, but you know, we let the testers do outliers, we let the testers do DPAB, we let the testers actually pass-fail everything without us criticizing it. So we just said, Steve McNeely said years ago, we just need to get over it. You know, let's let the equipment do what it does and let us create the equipment that does it.